Hello everybody, Seth Apter here. I'm coming to you from my studio in New York City, and I am here today to share a flip through from a journal that I just now finished. There is nothing like that moment when you create your final spread, your final page, and make your final mark in a journal. And you can look back and remember the days, remember the weeks, remember the months. In the case of this journal, remember the years that you worked on these pages, and look back in time and have a history to remind you of where you were during the period of time that you worked on the journal. This journal is been in the making for quite a long time. I started it about 4 years ago, and I have been in a journal phase for quite a long time where I don't feel pressure to finish my journal, to journal every day. So I journal sometimes twice a day, sometimes once every 2 or 3 months. And I'm okay with that now. No pressure. The journal is a place for me to put my thoughts, my experiences, my emotions, my feelings, and there's no reason I have to put any pressure on myself. This is a special journal. It's special because it's the first time I've used a journal and decided in advance not to put words in my journals. I use text in much of my art, all of my journals. This one, I challenged myself to create a journal to express my feelings using only color, collage, and no words. The only words you'll see are right on the cover where it says pours forth. I'm going to take you on a flip through, just tell you a little bit about this journal. It's a Strathmore mixed media paper journal. It handles the wetness from all the media that I use and the layers extremely well. It's a soft cover, and I decorated both the front and the back cover as well. I want to take you on a flip through, and sometimes I'm going to be silent, and sometimes I'm going to share a little information about technique or story. So let's go on and take a look. What's really been interesting for me to see is how the journal has evolved from beginning to end. Again, because it's over a 4-year period of time. My style has changed, it's morphed, it's gone back, it's shifted. It's a little bit all over the place. But again, my goal here was to create without using words. Regardless of the style or the color or the medium, my journals do have one thing in common. Actually, 2 things in common. The layers, because as a mixed media artist, I am all about the layers. It's how I create no matter what I'm working with. And also the marks. I believe that one of the best ways to express your feelings, to express your artistic voice, is by making your own mark. And I mean that both literally and figuratively. And so much of this journal, as you can see here, all these scratches done with journaling pens, is about mark making. And I feel like we all have our own internal symbols, whether we know it or not, that have meaning to us and probably mean something different to us than other people. And getting those in your artwork is how you create artwork that is uniquely your own. You can see that I often go to circles, and I often go to these sort of scratchy marks. I'll leave it up to you to interpret what that might mean, both for me and for you. This journal was created with a lot of paint, a lot of ink, a lot of collage, and again, different mark making tools. And what's interesting about it is that sometimes I thought a page was done and I moved on, and then all of a sudden I realized, that page is not done at all. I need to work on it more. Or I just randomly open a page sometimes and make little dots and little marks and little scratches. I have known to be quite obsessive sometimes with my journaling. So for example, this is a little bit of splatter, but I went ahead and not only did I splatter, but then I outlined some of the bigger splatters with a little bit of a gel pen. Not only did I make little circular marks here repeatedly, but then I took a Stabilo oil pencil and I circled each one. And then I took a red marker and put a dot in the middle. I really find the mark making therapeutic. And so on days like this, I probably needed more therapy than usual. You're going to see some brighter colors off and on throughout the book. I'm sort of known more for the sort of the darker, murkier, dirtier colors, but sometimes I like brights and I like the contrast. But even in a page that has a bright piece of collage like this, you're going to see a lot of dark, grungy, textural, dirtier elements. And again, so many times I use the circles. I'm totally comfortable going back to whatever my style is and not worrying that any page is going to look like any other page or there's too many circles. For me, working in a journal is completely freeing. It lets me be me. It lets me be loose in my art creation. I don't have to worry if someone's going to like it, if someone's going to buy it, how it's going to look when I photograph it for Instagram. I can really just go and do whatever I want. All my journal pages start the same way. They start almost like runoff pages. So I have my journal with me no matter where I am creating. It's just always sitting on the desk, sitting on the table by my side. And what I do is when I'm working on a piece and I have a little paint on a paintbrush, I just go take and brush the paint in the background. If I'm on the jelly plate and my brayer's still wet, I brayer some on. If I'm working on a separate piece of paper, which I usually am, I just take that piece of paper and flatten it and monoprint onto the page. I do not have problems with starting with a blank page, but what I found is that this is an easy way to start a page. Pages start on their own, and they're creating layers without thinking. And for me, that's the magic of mixed media art and art journaling, is creating without thinking. Obviously, if you're journaling, you're probably thinking about your mood or your emotion or what day it was. But you do not need to be thinking, what color goes with red? Oh no, I just put blue on that page. I have to put blue on the opposite page. You can just let loose. There's so many details in these, so many little marks. I may end up, for all I know, even though I'm saying this journal is finished, I may go back and work on it more and add even more marks. For me, it's the marks and the depth and the dimension of all the little details that make the biggest difference when you're creating. So if you get really, really close, you can see there is a lot going on these pages. My motto has always been more is more, and I think that may be mostly true in a journal. I can remember many of these pages in reference to approximately when I did it. You know, sometimes I can actually remember the day, or I can remember the particular emotion I was feeling. Some of them kind of remain a mystery to me, that I don't really remember what was happening. I just know that I worked in it, but for example, this spread, not sure what was going on. I'm not sure why I needed that kind of messy, fake language. And that looks a little chaotic to me. So maybe it was a bad day. I certainly remember some of the products that I used, whether they be inks or collage papers. And it takes me back to remind me that there's some particular products that I've used in here that maybe got lost on the shelf, and it's time to bring them out again. This is one of my favorite spreads. This was really late one night. I hadn't journaled in quite a long time, and I was feeling that I needed to get some things out. There was nothing specific going on. I just felt like I hadn't created. I've been too busy on the computer and doing the business side of work. And I just opened these pages. It was really, really late. I was tired, and I just went and I just created one page, did that page first, and then I did the facing page, and I just stayed up for hours doing it. I don't typically finish a journal page in one setting, but this spread, I remember doing that, and I felt so much better like I had released something and I got back in touch with my creativity, which is one of the things that you can do with a journal when you're stuck. Just go play, just go express. You can see occasionally there's these marks. These are just fake words. Probably as I was writing them, in some cases I was thinking of what I wanted to express, but again, no real words, understandable words in here. I challenged myself just to create with image and marks and color and I guess composition and shapes and forms only. Because even without words, the art supplies we have give us a large vocabulary to reach from. I remember this page, I actually worked on this page in a live video, and with no intention on my part, somehow created an elephant in this corner. And I added the eye just to make it a little clearer once the image emerged. And I guess, you know, what do they say about elephants? Elephants never forget. So maybe there's something about remembering that's important for journaling. Okay, so I have had the last 3 or 4 pages in this journal not done for months, and I was eager to finish this journal. I just love finishing a project like this. And so last night, I did one of those mega journal work periods, and I had the background started, and I just worked over both of these pages. They flowed very, very quickly. And when I turned the page, I realized I still had 2 more pages, so I went ahead and I did the next 2 as well to complete the journal. See? And I did these 2. These 2 are a little bit different. And I thought, you know what? It's the end of a journal. It's the beginning of a new period. Let me just try something different than I did before. And so I did this little bit of patchwork, and I did this little bit of kind of horizontal striping. And the colors are a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter than some of the other colors in here. And I'm just curious to see how that might move on to my next journal. So thank you so much for taking the walk through with me. Journals are so meaningful, and there's something to remember your experience by. They're yours and yours alone. And honestly, they are books to treasure. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be able to pour forth with you all.